I just want to check my settings real quick. Audio.
Welcome to Salaam Nerds Podcast. We do reviews and recaps of your favorite TV shows, movies, and current events.
Yo, it's the Salaam Nerds. My name is Steve, aka Watch the Beat. I'm here, my boy Chad.
We drop live episodes on YouTube on Sundays, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays at 10:30 p.m. Eastern. Thank you to all our supporters. Please help us by subscribing and leaving a good review at Apple Podcasts and Spotify. All episodes can also be found everywhere podcasts are found.
Yo, Salaam Nerds. It's your boy Neebs, aka Watch with Neebs, and I am here with our special guest. He's been on our episode a bunch of times, bringing it down for the last episode of The Penguin. Welcome to the show, Suara.
Thanks so much for having me, man. You know, I've had, like many people, a very busy week that is also been a very stressful week. You know, that I think this is the elephant in the room. But you know, I find faith in the entertainment media we consume, honestly, and great art. The Penguin is great art. This is one of my favorite, based on a comic series ever. Just bravo, bravissima, masterpiece. Like, just
I can't
incredible.
I can't think of another spin-off from a superhero movie that became a show that did this well.
Yeah.
Like, it's really, really well done. And, you know, it's opportune that we see an episode where an opportunist becomes the crime lord of his city, right? Yeah. We've never seen that happen.
I've never seen that before. Yeah.
We got people in the comments already saying, Vic, oh no, he's a damn true villain. And you know what?
Yeah.
That's one of the things I want to talk about, because this show has been showing the Penguin as a protagonist the whole time, but he is not an anti-hero. He is a straight up villain. Yes. Villains are gonna vill, and that's what he did.
Absolutely. But you know, I think that the show always did a good job of making him an actually, I don't want to say sympathetic, but villain you could empathize with, especially in how he was talking about the corrupt elites. But again, like a populace that's actually really corrupt, that, you know, who's actually truly in it for himself. And, you know, I'm just going to dive into this episode, like, you know, how it encapsulates for the entire show and the relationship with his mom, Frances, and what Sophia does. Sophia, my queen, who could do no wrong. I'm just like, every time I see Sophia Gigante on screen, I'm like, yes, queen. I'm that gif of Ilana Glazer. Like,
how about that dress, though? That dress was serving.
Just give her the Emmy right now. She is incredible in this role. Yeah. Just fucking, like, flames abound. She is incredible. But anyway, what I want to say, when Sophia has Oz and Frances in that situation, this is really the breaking point for both these characters, but also us as the viewers. So we see in the flashback scene before that it was revealed Frances knew all along that Oz had killed
what a twist,
her other sons. Right. But and then the twist really that comes is that, you know, Sophia is threatening to chop off Frances's fingers if Oz won't just admit the truth. Yeah. Just admit the truth that he did something horribly wrong, but he can't. Or he absolutely, utterly refuses to. And this is a moment of pure frustration for both these characters and for us as the viewers. Yeah. We all want this monster of a man to admit his wrongdoing when everyone already knows, but he literally refuses. He refuses to budge out of his own reality. Say what you want about the Joker. The Joker always acknowledges what he has done. He revels in it. He acknowledges the truth of it. He, you know, like, obviously he has that thing of like multiple origins and whatnot, which is cool, but, and, you know, whacked up on its own. But still, like, he revels in the present what he's doing. And here with Oz, he just refuses to take any responsibility whatsoever. It
No.
is like so immovable for him. Like, what we are seeing here is the true definition of a sociopath
Yeah.
who it's just like it's mind-boggling to watch, and it's played obviously so brilliant by Colin Farrell. But I think that's like what really stands out for me in this episode, how even when all the evidence is right in front of him, even when everyone knows, he will
Yeah.
refuse that he is in the wrong. And that's what makes a real monster.
That is so crazy because, like, even when people go to jail and they're caught and stuff like that, it's the ones that are like crazy sociopaths that are like, no, I'm not the person who did it. Like, he almost, in a way, gaslights himself and tries to convince himself that it didn't happen. He knows it happened. His mom knows it happened. Everyone knows it happened, but he would let his mom's finger get cut off, then admit it in front of her, and that's just so bizarre. And then he
And
tells,
still make it seem as though he's trying to stop it when he's not actually trying to. He's just he's only about self-preservation,
yeah,
and he twists and contorts it in such a way that he makes it seem like he's the hero when obviously he's not.
right.
And that's just horrifying, truly.
It's so crazy because the thing that I find really interesting is that he tells her, "No, it's your disease talking." So, like, if there is like a 0.1% of a way for him to find some way to twist it, he will do it.
I mean, he's a gaslighter. He's a
Yeah,
systemic gaslighter to himself and other people. And we see this in the villains of this show. Besides him, it's also Carmen Falcone. Even though he's long dead, it's still what he's done has
yeah,
left horrible scars,
sure,
especially on Sophia. He was also a gaslighter who
right,
gaslit the woman in his life. That's the parallel. It's almost as though Sophia can tell, like, this is an exacerbated version of the monster my father was.
yeah,
And obviously Sophia, she's not a morally clean character either. That's part of why we love
no,
her, but she actually has principles here, which makes
yeah,
her, like, in my opinion, well, my favorite character, in my opinion, one of the most compelling characters. But also Oz is compelling in just how divorced from reality he is,
yeah,
and how he just refuses to take this responsibility. I just think it's a brilliant depiction, truly. And it wasn't one I was it's something we built up to, but it's
yeah.
also something I wasn't necessarily expecting.
Hmm.
It was just pulled off so well. Lauren LaFranc and her team are geniuses.
Amazing. Just incredible job. And I agree with everything you're saying. It's really interesting. And to the point where, like, Sophia was like, "Wow, you were really gonna let me do that, weren't you?" Like, even she's surprised. Like, she's like, "You really are a bastard." Like, it's a really, really despicable what he's done. But to go back to what you were talking about earlier, I love the storytelling of this episode because they use uh Dr. Julian Rush to tell us this flashback, and it's done in such a way where, like, we don't see the old version of his mom. We see, like, the older version of the mom, right? But I mean, like, the one she is now in present time. And it was just so fascinating to see. And then when they told us that she knew the whole time she saw the flashlight, it changes the entire story because every time we're like, you know what? His mom's kind of bad too. And look at the way she treats him. Maybe he had a bad childhood and he did this. His mom, and then you find out his mom couldn't stand him because she knew what was happening. So it was like, even though we go to the last episode, they're still pulling things to make the 7 episodes before us. We can now see that in a different light because of this new information. And I almost want to go back and rewatch the episodes knowing this information and see what I can pick up and, like, the clues that I can find. But it's really interesting the way his mom treats him in their relationship.
Yeah, Frances, I think, is both a victim and an enabler.
Yeah.
I'm certain, like, once she found out, like, that her kid had effectively killed her two other kids, literally, we find out in this episode that she was going to get this gangster guy that Oz had
Rex.
admired,
Yeah.
Rex, to kill him as a kid because she was so horrified. But also, I'm sure she thought to herself, oh, what could could I get rid of like my last remaining son? Obviously, it's all horrible to think about from all angles. I but yeah, she like continued to enable him, maybe because she was scared, maybe because she saw some sort of opportunity in him becoming a gangster and getting her and like what's left of their family an actually good life. But she it's just so tough. It's just so
Yeah.
tough like being in that situation. And I'm sure, she wasn't like, she didn't have a lot of options. Like she was a single mom, and
Yeah.
she's just an extremely tragic character. But I think ultimately I do see her as a victim throughout this entire situation, especially as Oz got older and became a gangster, and she was increasingly relying on him, even though
Yeah.
she always understandably hated him for what
Yeah.
he did. And the state she's left in with this severe stroke at the end,
Yeah.
where, she actually does harm her child directly,
Yeah.
and she has a stroke because of that. It's just heartbreaking acting by the
Dee Dee.
actress. Yeah, like Deirdre. I forget her last name, but she is just absolutely brilliant. And yeah, I think ultimately I feel so sorry for her. She is a
Yeah.
victim in these horrific circumstances.
She was really in like between a rock and a hard place, right? Where she, like you talked about it, where she had to either kill her son because she's like, the devil's in my house, right? This is kid is the devil. He's always been a needy kid, but I was like, whatever. And her realization that he killed them, and he had no remorse the whole time. He sat with me. He sat on the thing. He could have told me the day. There's so many times he knew they were drowning and didn't tell him. He locked it behind him, right? So she knew all the stuff that happened, and she's like, should I kill him? And then he gives her that story about like, hey, I'm gonna give you the world. I'm gonna do this and that. And she's like, everything's been taken away from me at this point. Maybe I can get something out of it. Because Rex says these kinds of people, these people who are born like this, they can be useful. They can go up in the world. And she's like, I need to make something out of this. And I think that's what she
Yeah.
tried to do. So that was her thing. And that's why she chose for him to, told him to be a gangster, told him to be this tough person, because she was like, I need something good to come out of this horrible situation.
Yeah. By the way, the actress' full name is Deirdre O'Connell.
Yeah.
Absolutely brilliant performance.
So good.
And yeah, just like amazing performances across the board from all the actors, especially the actor playing young Oz Cobb.
Oh yeah, the
He's
kid's
just
so
so good.
good.
Yeah.
He got the actor, the accent down, the mannerism, the
Mm-hmm.
acting, everything. It was really, really good.
Yeah, that actor's name is Ryder Allen.
Mm,
And he's just, yeah, he did so well. Like, definitely this kid has a long future of acting ahead of him. I hope he
yeah,
does because he's so good. In a stable environment, of course, not
yeah,
because we know what happens to a lot of child stars. So inshallah, like, he has
yeah.
a
It's
good
true.
stable career. But no, well, all that to say is just this show has elevated, yeah, legitimately elevated the material using the TV medium, using like an HBO budget
Yeah,
to the best degree possible. And that's also a limited budget, but the full quality that an HBO series can offer you. And I'm so proud of Lauren LaFranc, Matt Reeves, their whole cast and crew.
yeah.
This is setting the standard for comic book series, like comic book TV
Yeah,
series, in a way I haven't seen since Doom Patrol, another amazing DC
right.
series. It tends to happen in DC. Like I said on a previous podcast, like DC TV is aces, and this series is through the stratosphere. And I know it's just a limited series. I know it's a tie-in with the Batman universe, but even
Yeah,
so, it's still a TV medium. This is still the standard. I hope that James Gunn's universe aims for this type of standard. We know that Lanterns, despite my reservations about the thing is, like, I think the actor he's great that they got for Jon Stewart, but
Right.
I have to like defer to my black friends,
Right. The community.
the community who always talk about who are talking about the colorism that's
Right.
in my opinion is very apparent.
Yeah.
Hopefully he is like I'm sure he will be like a very good Jon Stewart. I hope like just no more colorism in the universe, please.
Yeah.
Anyway, but besides that, this is really what I hope the standard is for DC series, and you know I've talked about the MCU already,
Listen,
how I've lost faith for it. But like, can I just tell you?
Yeah.
Recently, apparently, Kevin Feige said after saying that they're going to slow down, now they're saying we're actually going to do 3 movies and 2 series a year, or something like, or 2 movies and 3 series a year. But even so, like that's still a shit ton, Kevin. That's not slowing down. Like, yeah,
and the thing is, like, it's hard for us to watch something like The Penguin and then go back and look at something like Marvel and be like, come on, like this is what they did with 8 episodes, and it felt complete. It was satisfying.
Absolutely. Each
like,
episode
I don't need
was
more.
its own arc.
Yeah,
it was so good.
Each episode let me satisfied, and then at the end of the season, I'm like, there's nothing else I need. I have everything I need. And I don't ever feel that way with a Marvel show.
Yeah. No, it's like just, I mean, not to keep beating the dead horse that I think is the MCU right now. Like, oh my God, I was at like my local comic shop, Phantom Comics, and like they all hate the MCU.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think they'll mind me saying that. But even as something as good as Agatha all along is, you know, that's might be a fluke for all we know. And I understand that Daredevil was going to be around 20 episodes, which like, oh great, they're going back to that. Now it's apparently going to be 10 episodes. Just like, you know, it's probably not going to be satisfying. It's probably going to be like, oh, what happens to Daredevil in this pickle? Wait till he teams up with this MCU super. I'm just like, no, just like leave. Actually, I love in the Penguin what they did, ending it with this really demented scene of him and Eve, with Eve dressed up as his mother, like just so messed up, but still so pitch perfect for the show. Like it's just it's messed up. It's beautifully, perfectly messed up. That's what the show is.
Yeah.
But anyway,
because that's Eve. That's the girl. He's going
exactly, and he's like making her his mom, while his mom is absolutely catatonic. It's like messed up.
That's bizarre. Yeah,
I know. But at the very tail end of this, you know, as they say, who's gonna stop me? And then we see the bat signal. Perfect. 10 out of 10. So no notes. That, you know, I love that more than if they would have had Robert Pattinson like from the back as Batman looking into his window. I think like the bat signal was perfect.
That was
pitch perfect.
I agree. And then we also got the little Selena Kyle reference, which I thought that was
so good. Oh, so good. Just these Gotham women, like I love. I need like, I'm not sure if like Sophia would be a Gotham City siren, or like, I mean, she's gonna continue on as either an anti-hero or villain, and I'm just like, I love this character so much. I was convinced. Okay, let me tell you. So I'm not on Twitter anymore, but I am on Blue Sky, which Blue Sky is great. I gotta tell you, I highly recommend getting a Blue Sky account.
Anyway, try it.
Yeah. So one of my mutuals, this isn't any shade, absolutely no shade. Just like, this is my own fault. You know, I went online and they posted a bit of a negative reaction to the finale, and like, I assumed that because of that, Sophia was gonna die, and I was bracing myself for it. And literally, like at that moment, where like Oz literally has the gun to her head, and I'm like, oh no, I'm bracing myself for it. But the surprise is that Oz actually sends her back to Arkham,
which is a fate worse than death.
Fate worse than death, apparently, but great for us because we're getting more Kristen Milioti, Sophia Gigante. I'm so excited. Like you said, like, and it was a rumor that she's going to be in the Batman too. Let's do it. They know they have hold here. But by the way, I also have to say, you see, I just keep talking about this episode because like there's so much.
Yeah, we got time. Let's go for it.
I love that as Oz was driving her, they were playing "O Mio Babino Caro," which is an Italian aria from, I forget the name of the opera, but I know the context of it is like, it's this woman it's like there are two fighting families, and the woman singing is like, I think, in love with one of the sons of the opposing family, and she's begging, like Omeo Babino Caro is like, oh my dear father, please. Um, like she's begging for there to be some sort of resolution and like how deeply she's in love with this man. So the irony of playing that song to Sophia, who obviously absolutely despised her father,
Mm-hmm.
and that's like Oz. Like I love that choice. It's like mental games that Oz is playing with her, of being like, oh yeah, you hate your daddy. Here's a song about like a woman like begging her daddy to do something. Just like the levels here, the
Yeah.
details are so good.
No, that was really, really good. I definitely enjoy that. I knew, or I heard the rumors of her being in the Batman too, but that scene is still shot in a way where you're like, okay, it's coming. Okay, the rumors are like, I basically like forgot all of it. I was just like, okay, I was in the moment and like this is gonna happen, and then you pull back and you see that the cops come, and then you're like, oh wait, he did meet up with the guy in court, and he set them up with this idea of how he's gonna spin this and how it's gonna look so good on him. And I thought that was brilliant, the way they set this all up and to set him up to be a, some kind of like kingpin of Gotham, which is interesting because a lot of people are saying, I don't know if you noticed, but the curtains in the courtroom were all shaped like owls, which seems to be a nod to the Court of Owls.
Oh, that would be really cool if like somehow Oz like the penguin like intersected with the court of owls. That could be really cool. I
Yeah,
don't know if
right.
he's done anything with the court of owls in the comics actually.
I don't think so, but he has, in terms of like the Court of Owls have used him, but I don't think he's been like officially in it or anything like that.
Right.
Um, but one thing I do want to talk about, even though um we didn't we touched on it a little bit, Victor, like
Oh.
his speech when he was getting everybody riled up, and then he gets
Mm-hmm.
punched in the gut. And I'm like, the way that was done was so good because number one, you're like, this is somebody who can't speak. He has a stuttering problem, and I don't. You listen to the show, you could probably tell I have a stuttering problem also. So like, I love the fact that this was his moment, and he just ran this like penguin-esque speech to just rally everyone up. And then Ling basically punches him in the stomach, and you're like, oh, he shut him up. And then you're like, it sets up the whole thing of all the deputies attacking the main guy because he wanted to shut him up
Mm-hmm.
to actually protect him. And he's the one that put everything together. So he did everything to save the penguin. In fact, throughout this entire show, he's been coming in clutch, saving the penguin over and over and over again. And to see his character development grow, and to see this character that we knew nothing about, he doesn't exist, to go all the way to the end, have us fall in love with this character, and then to just see him die was heartbreaking because we're like, I was like, oh, he's going to be okay. Like, and then at the last minute, they take it away from us, and it was just
Mm-hmm.
heartbreaking. And the fact that
Yeah.
makes it so interesting is the penguin also truly does love him. He wasn't just using him; he truly does love him. He's seen him at his most vulnerable. He's seen him as weakness, and because of that, he said he had to kill him because he could not have any weaknesses. I just think that is brilliant. That's just such a good story.
Yeah. Renzi Feliz is an amazing actor. I really hope great things for him from here. He also deserves an Emmy nomination.
It's
I
funny. It's like everyone
yeah.
on the show, you're like, give him an Emmy, give her an Emmy, you get an Emmy,
I
you get an Emmy.
I mean specifically Sophia and Victor's actors. Like they are, I mean Colin Farrell as well. He should get an Emmy nomination. Also like Deirdre O'Donnell.
Also, like
She's
makeup.
great.
Also, like there's so much.
Yeah.
That entire show is gonna clean house.
I mean, I hope so. Like, they deserve like a SAG nomination for best cast.
Yeah,
Period. Uh, just no, seriously, this show needs to sweep, man. This show needs to like get
yeah,
all the awards. It's truly, truly magnificent.
yeah,
I'm so blown away by, and I, you know, what? I love that it's a single season. And it
yeah,
only really needs to be, and if they can do this level of quality for all or most of the Gotham villains,
yeah.
just yes,
My
yes, yes,
biggest
yes.
fear is that they try to force a season 2 without the people who made season 1 happen. Like they new writers,
I
new showrunners, and they did like, we just got to capitalize on this,
well,
squeeze as much money out of it as we can.
I personally, well, for one thing, if they did, I don't think they would do another team other than Lord and the Frog. Like she's
Yeah.
close with like Matt Reeves, and
Mhm.
this is Matt Reeves. Like he's the executive producer. Like he's the one, guiding the overall ship that is the Batman
Right.
universe. Um, which is also to the point of I don't think he would want or even really allow a second season because the intention is for this to be um just one season.
Yeah.
So I think yeah, I'm not too afraid of it like getting a I mean that's something like you don't usually hear like, oh, we
No.
don't want to get a second season. Like I think this only needs to be one season.
Yeah.
I think that they understand that too. I think that DC has a bunch of projects they're doing already. I think they also see the mistakes. James Gunn, he has seen firsthand the mistakes at Marvel Studios of
Yeah.
overproduction. So I don't have that fear. I think it will remain, knock on wood, inshallah, quality over quantity.
Yeah, I think so too. Uh, do you think there's a possibility that like the Matt Reeves universe, people are gonna want it to continue to the point where it's overlapping with the Batman of the DCU, and then people are going to have two Batmans to compare it to, and that's gonna get really tough because it's hard to outdo this
Well,
one,
well, yeah.
this universe at least.
I think okay, if this makes sense, I think that the Batman universe is Batman when he's young and starting out,
Yeah,
and Batman in the DCU is going to be an older Batman who is more seasoned. It's going to be more Bat family focused. We know the
yeah,
Brave and the Bold is going to have Damian Wayne, the Al Ghuls, who had better be played by Arab actors,
hopefully.
please. And what gives me hope is that in the Harley Quinn series, Talia has a Lebanese voice actress, and she's
Mhm.
amazing as Talia. So hopefully they continue that. They recognize that, and I think especially after this year, despite the backlash and from some Hollywood elites towards the Palestinian cause, I think that thankfully, and it's continued forward, that the Palestinian Arab causes and voices are so loud and so prevalent, like you can't ignore it. So that's what I'm
Mhm.
hoping for. Um, yeah, but anyway, yeah, the Batman universe I think will remain its own thing. I know that Matt Reeves definitely doesn't want like any multiverse shenanigans. And James Gunn has said from the start, this is an Elseworlds series.
Theories, yeah,
It's
yeah.
not the main DCU series, and that's
Mhm.
great because you know what? That is what DC is. DC is the multiverse. The multiverse is for different avenues of storytelling. Sure, you can have like one main continuity, but we also have like literally hundreds of multiverses
Yeah,
or
yeah.
of universes. So, yeah.
No, I totally get that. Um, Another thing that I thought was really cool that they brought in from the Batman was the mayor, Bella Real. We got a little cameo of her, which I thought was cool. And then it also makes me believe that there is more to go on in Gotham because one of the big things about Gotham or the Batman that I like is that there's politics involved, right? Like the Batman one was so much about this like mayoral race. There's this slush fund of the Wayne Enterprise that is being mishandled and misused, and I really want to see people focus on that. And that's why a lot of people are like, Court of Owls are gonna show up. Wouldn't be surprised, and I wouldn't be surprised to see a Court of Owls type storyline in the
Hmm.
Matt Reeves universe because it's in line with their realism and their politics and stuff like that.
Yes.
That'd be
And
really
this is
cool.
why I love the Batman universe so much. It's all about these rich, corrupt elites who are messing
Yes.
everything up. This is literally reflecting our own society. Like,
Yeah.
yes, this is what we need. And again, like, without naming any names,
Yeah.
Ozcov is reminiscent of, other
Cult of
faux
personality.
populist
Yeah.
cult of personalities who like are really just in it for themselves. And it's just this is what great superhero storytelling can be.
The
And
thing that I
it,
like about
yeah.
Oz, which like you just touched on right now, is that he does have this cult of personality where he knows the right things to say to the right people. Because one thing that I saw that he said was that you're so busy filling up your plate, you don't know that the next person plate is empty. And like, even though he does not care about the person, he knows enough to like tell these stories and spin these stories to get people excited. And that's how he gets people behind him. It's such an interesting way to manipulate people because you mix enough of the truth to really get people to buy in the bullshit you're selling. And that's what makes him such an interesting villain.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just so well done.
Also a cool little thing, when Sophia was being, killed right underneath that bridge, he mentioned that it's called Elliot Bridge, which, the Elliots are Bruce Wayne's friends. So Thomas
Oh,
Elliot, and
interesting.
he's, in the Hush comics, is a
Mm-hmm.
very prominent figure. So basically, it's kind of showing that there's more elite families in the Batman universe. So Hush is a possibility in the Batman
Yeah.
universe now because the Elliots are there, which is crazy. So Tommy
Yeah.
Elliot is possible. That's going to be fascinating. What else? What are
Well,
your thoughts?
sorry to like interrupt, but like this is what's also great about the Batman universe of it
Yeah.
being relatively quote unquote grounded, very much dealing with the societal ills of Gotham. Like we said, the corrupt elites, the rich capitalists, things that affect working people
Mhm.
every day. So
Yeah.
I love that. I want it to remain that. The thing is, like, each of these universes in the multiverse, they can focus on different things
Yeah.
and use the full variety of storytelling to the best of your ability.
Yeah. And like I don't mind the realism of the Batman if we also get the comic book version of Batman in the DCU. It's like everyone gets to eat, everyone gets to like gets to see what they like, basically. And I don't mind that. I don't think that's a problem. I think that's a big problem with the MCU because in the MCU, it's one continuous universe. So you go from something like Captain America the Winter Soldier to something like She-Hulk, the tone shift is so jarring for people and there is such backlash for it. Whereas some people might like the campy style of storytelling of She-Hulk. Doesn't mean that it's taking anything away from the dark version of like the Captain America the Winter Soldier or something like rated R like Deadpool. I just think there's less like backlash when they're in their separate universes. Then the tonal change doesn't really affect anybody. And I think a better, I don't know, like in better way to make shows and have them be, accepted by the fans.
Yeah, and again, just let creators do their thing.
Yeah, just
Like
let the creators do the thing.
let Lauren LaFranc do her thing. Let this like writer, producer whom I had no idea about before, let me become a fan of hers. Like let me become a fan of like these specific
Yeah.
creators. And this is why I always say like we have to, especially in the midst of the media environment right now, especially with the consolidations, find those specific creators that whose work you admire and follow them. Let
Yeah.
them be lifted up. I want to see another Lauren LaFranc series in the
Yeah.
same way. You know, Leslie Headland. I love Russian Doll, and I was
Mhm.
so excited for, and like I personally got really great things out of the Acolyte. I think Leslie Headland is a genius, and I will follow her to wherever she goes,
Mhm.
as I will with Lauren LaFranc, as I will with Nida Manzoor, as I will with other creators, you know, like hell, just creators of the Avatar, Last Airbender universe,
Yeah.
Mark, Brian Konietzko and Michael Dante DiMartino, and writers I care about, Nadia Shamas, especially, who is brilliant, Sonia Sleiman, both of them Palestinian.
Mhm.
Uh, yeah, I think
It
we have
also
to
makes me
support individuals, is what I'm saying.
exactly.
Yeah.
And it also makes me like when people like that who you think like, oh, this person is awesome. I really love their stuff. When they leave a project, then it also
Mm-hmm.
kind of makes you like raise your eyebrow. Like when the Avatar Left Airbender creators left the show for the live action, you're like,
Mm-hmm.
something's not right here, right? And then you kind of get an idea of like, okay, this is not what they really wanted. And because
Mm-hmm.
of that, like you're kind of just, I get it. This is going to be a little bit more corporate, and a little bit more like formulaic than letting the creatives create.
Also, the fact that that show completely actually whitewashed Sokka, even though like they said no, this guy's actually indigenous. When no, like it was actually basically uncovered that this guy was like faking being native. And
Yeah, but I heard he lied, so I don't know if
he
that's
lied.
on
Yeah.
them. Yeah, that
No,
might
it's
not
not.
be
It's
on them.
not on Netflix specifically. Yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
yeah, I know. I totally get that. The other thing that I wanted to talk about a little bit is the thing that like they took so much time to explain Oz's mom's wishes of like
Mm-hmm.
not living without her dignity. The dignity is her most important thing, and that if she happens to go, she wants Oz to kill her. And Oz does pretty much the opposite in
He
letting her live in a
does. Oh my
vegetative state.
god.
So like I remember I had a theory that like Oz is going to do something and sacrifice his mom in a selfish way instead
And
of a
he
way to hurt her,
did.
and he
He
basically did in a
did.
way.
He did twice. Like, first with like refusing to acknowledge that he did something wrong. Like, not allowing his mother that he claims to love so much,
Yes.
not allowing her the catharsis
Yes.
of simply telling the truth that she
Mhm.
already fucking knows.
Knew.
That Sophia knows. That everyone knows. It's just like, because he's so wrapped up in his own selfishness,
Yeah.
he can't even tell that selfishness anymore. By the way, I took that line from what's it called? Scarlett Johansson, Adam Driver movie on Netflix. Marriage Story. Yes, I
Yeah.
took it from that movie where
Yeah.
she's saying it to him. Like, that's a great line, I have to admit.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, so like he refuses to admit it, and that's the first sacrifice of his mom. He's literally willing to sacrifice his mom's fingers.
Yeah.
But I guess it's also like, sorry to like dig in on this. I'm wondering, it's almost presented in such a way like, is he actually incapable of saying he's done something wrong? Like, is
Yeah.
there actually some sort of neurological condition that doesn't allow him to do that?
Because
No,
I
you
no,
know?
I think you're right, because even when he goes through her hospital, after all of that had happened, after she admitted she knew, after she told him she hates him, after she stabbed him in the stomach, he goes through her
Yes!
bed and he goes, "Are you proud of me? Did I do good?
Oh my
I
god.
did it, didn't I? Tell me you love," like all this stuff. Like there is something psychologically wrong, because he can everything that just happened should tell him that no, she's not
Right.
proud of you. But
Right.
he's just still so desperate for that.
Yeah, it's like a desperate denial of reality.
But it's not like he didn't get enough of it. She said, "I had enough love to go around. I had enough
Right.
love for all of you." It's not
Mhm.
like she was being horrible to him,
Yeah, not at
right?
all. Not at all. It's like he was jealous of his older brother when, I don't know, like maybe his mom just that day, it's just like something snapped in him. It's just
Yeah.
like, and obviously being disabled, I just like not not say that like that happens like with disabled people. Obviously not. This is like
Obviously
a
not.
unique case. It just, but it's just so fascinating. This
Yeah.
kind of evil, because he is straight up evil. He is a
He
straight
he
up
is evil.
villain.
Yeah. He's
And
honestly, I
he's
might just say he is probably one of the best villains that DC has to offer, because what he did was not just like evil, but cruel. Like on an
yes,
individualistic level. He's not just like Thanos, where you snap your fingers, you genocide at random. Yes,
oh
the
he
numbers are there, but
yeah,
what he does is just cruel.
yes, he's more evil than Thanos to me.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I'm just gonna say it. I think Thanos, at least in the MCU, sucks as a villain. I never got the debate over whether he's right or not is. I mean, I know you and Jazz like talked about before. No offense to either of you, but I think the whole debate is stupid. Like, just I think like Infinity War and Endgame are great films, but they're not meant to be like seriously dissected or discussed, to
Fair.
be quite honest. But this, again, like with the Batman universe and how pertinent it is for our actual reality. And the thing is, like, we know people, ultimately we do know people like Oz, again, like
Yeah.
these sociopaths and like populists that come into power who just are in it for themselves, and while they're saying for their people and for the people, but who cannot. Okay, the thing is with Oz, the reason I'm so compelled by him as a villain, because like I have had people in my life who will refuse to acknowledge if they've ever done anything wrong,
Yeah.
or they'll have to be like really sort of pushed to admit that they were wrong. And
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
very, very frustrating.
yeah,
And I think that all of us in all of our lives have had that frustration with certain people, whether in our families or like old friends or colleagues, like
yeah,
people who you know they're in the wrong and they refuse to admit it.
yeah, yeah,
Either whether it's because of their privilege, whether it's because of their arrogance, whether it's because they were brought up with parents or people telling them they could do no wrong, etc. And so in that I talked about it before, like that the frustration of Oz not admitting he was wrong, that is the point. And they're a big part of the reason I think that that's a masterful moment is because all audiences have known someone like that in their lives.
yeah.
And we're seeing this encapsulated in this villain.
Hmm.
Something we can point to. Like I could say to someone in my life, like who's that area, I would just be like, you're just like the penguin on TV.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
that, I mean, that sounds extreme, but obviously, for this character, but that's just how I feel. Like it offers that catharsis
Hmm.
of knowing that, hey, you're not quote unquote crazy. You're not like not miss seeing things or whatever. There are actually people like that. And it's
Yeah.
unfair and deeply frustrating, and we need to acknowledge it. Like the acknowledgement of that reality that there are these gaslighting people is
Hmm.
itself liberating.
Yeah, no, I agree. And it's not like a situation where like, a little kid gets caught in a lie and he's just too afraid to tell the truth, Is this is different. This is somebody who a master manipulator and literally cannot see past his own world that he created in his head where he is the hero. He is the person who saved Crown Heights or Crown Point or whatever it's called. And he really thinks he is this hero for the people. Penguin, man of the people, right? That's what they called him. So it's really interesting how he sees himself. He sees himself as this guy who he admired, Rex, but we find out that Rex was really just going to kill him. So the irony of that itself is really funny.
Yeah, it's just like all of it, despite being so like dramatic and whatnot, there are some really funny moments in here.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
just such a well balanced show. It's so good.
And the thing is, like, they also give like, yes, there's a lot of realism and it's a great story and it's not that comic booky, but then they also do give us like these little treats. Like we get to see the penguin in his actual penguin suit with the umbrella and the top hat, and like we get to see that, and like he has a purple Bentley now. So like it was really cool to see the purple in his like life and everything, and it give that little bit of like the Easter eggs for the fans too. So it was a great way to really capture the character, but also
Hmm.
elevating him into a way we've never seen before.
Yeah, and again, it's a like with the Batman, this is effectively an origin story for the Penguin.
Yeah.
He starts off like looking gruffier, like, quote unquote, more real life. And then they get more and more theatrical into like
Yeah.
the comic book versions we know, while still retaining that deep edginess. And I just love this balance. You know what it is? I feel as though both the Batman and this series, which is why also I always tend to say that whether it's an animated series or TV series, those tend to work better for superhero storytelling.
Hmm.
Just because you have the amount of time in
Yeah.
there. Uh, and not to, again, I'm bashing the dead horse of the MCU again, but like we talked about before, so many of the MCU series are like 6-part movies
Yes. We've
and
said that
not,
many times. Yeah.
yeah, not actual series that build up.
Yeah.
Whereas this one was,
It
because
was.
even though it was just 8 episodes, each episode was carefully crafted, so much detail packed in, but presented so beautifully. You get to grow with and admire these characters, and including your main evil protagonist, Oz, to the point, where he does like say, he does like do this horrible thing at the end, to Victor, which, people were saying like, oh, Victor, he could have been a Robin, like that could have been his alternate destiny, but
Yeah.
unfortunately he met Oscobb instead.
Hmm.
And it's just such a tragedy, especially for this like young Afro Latino kid who like lost all his family,
Yeah.
and it's very much it's certainly enraging, especially to see like a character from a demographic like that be treated so horribly, but it is also, I mean, it's not for like, any specific demographic, but for those, well, just in general, like those who are in the poor or working class to be taken
Yeah.
advantage of in such a way. So, Victor, we love this character, and, despite and that's the tragic thing. He could have gone to California,
Yeah. Could be with his
rewatch,
girl.
could have been with his girl, and he saw the allure of power instead in Oz, and unfortunately put his trust in this evil, evil man, and
Yeah.
he paid the ultimate price for it, even
Yeah.
though he did everything. And that goes to show, again, Oz, despite his quote unquote bashing of what he says are quote unquote rich elites, that's ultimately what he ends up becoming. And
Mm.
he's going to do the same to that poor working class.
It's that saying that they have. It's like, hey, you're not trying to dismantle the patriarchy. You just want a table at the seat, right? And something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And I think that's very interesting. Another thing you said that I found very interesting is that this is a penguin origin story, but the origin story usually comes before we see the character, or
Mm-hmm.
after we see the character. In this, we saw the penguin in the Batman, and we get an origin after the Batman, and it takes place still after the Batman time wise, right? It's not a prequel.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what's fascinating about this,
Yeah.
because when he was in the Batman, we thought that was the penguin. We met the penguin, but he wasn't the penguin yet, and we just didn't know it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just fascinating. And now you watch that movie in a different light. I'm
Can't wait to
really,
watch the Batman again
I'm
after
gonna do that
this.
too. I'm gonna rewatch the Batman, so I'm looking forward to that. I think it'd be a good podcast to rewatch the Batman after the Penguin and see what we think about it. I think that'd be a really cool thing to do. So I'd be really down to do that. Before we go, is there anything we missed that we did not get a chance to talk about? I can't think of anything
Trying to
else.
think. Yeah, unfortunately, a lot of characters had died by this point.
I know.
R.I.P. to the rest of the amazing
Yeah, Julian Rush
cast.
is
Like,
still around, so we'll see what he gets up
oh
to.
yeah, oh
Yeah,
yeah. No, just again, my queen, Sophia Gigante. She is alive and kicking in
yeah.
Arkham. Unfortunately, it's Arkham, but
But
I
what
she's
what?
she's gonna connect with Selena Kyle,
Yeah.
Catwoman. Catwoman will break her out. That's what I'm hoping happens. And
Well,
just
the thing is, someone mentioned in my podcast last week is that she pulled a Joker. She got the psychiatrist to basically fall in love with her and
this
break
is
her
true.
out and get her out. And I think that's just crazy. That
It
was
could
really cool.
happen again. Yeah.
Yeah, oh, man.
No, no, but like again, Kristen Milioti, she is absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
Just give her the Emmy, please. She needs acting awards. She needs to be nominated for the Emmy. I hope she wins. And just she is an extraordinary actress.
Yeah.
Like I need to see more from her in general. I need to watch more of her series, like I mentioned before, and just yeah, so good, so good.
All right, man. Well, listen, thank you so much for being on all the episodes that you've been on for this season. We couldn't have done it without you, man. I really appreciate it, especially filling in for Jazz after all the stuff that he's been going through. So that's been really, really helpful to us. Before you go, can you let people know where they can find you?
Yeah, y'all can find me now on Blue Sky at Spider
Mm,
Swars. It's definitely a Twitter light, but it's so much more pleasant. You can
mm,
block a bunch of like people easily, like right wingers and MAGA people
yeah.
easily. Um, and it's growing now. Twitter has like for reference has 600 million users now. Blue Sky has 14 million, which is still small compared to Twitter, but it's still growing a lot. And
Yeah.
for certain world events reasons, it's been growing like I think even more exponentially recently, and it's so much more active now. Like so many people are king. So find me on Blue Sky at Spider Squars at Spider Swars bluesky.social. And I'm a freelance writer for websites like The New Era, But Why Though, Nerds of Color, I recently had a piece go up on the New Arab last week about the Palestinian Film Festival that was held here in DC. Some amazing films were being showcased there, particularly on the night I went. We saw From Ground Zero, which is from these Palestinian filmmakers in Gaza, detailing their lives under the current assault and genocide on them. It's just absolutely remarkable in the midst of all this horrific tragedy that continues that they make art out of it, and
Yeah, crazy.
it's so important, to be
Yeah.
able to showcase it for a wider audience. um so yeah, like, check me out there and check out my podcast, The Middle Geeks, where we discuss anything and everything in Swana related media.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being on the show. And guys, don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. And we're having a giveaway going. If you give us a good review, give us a screen cap, send it to salamnerdspodcast@gmail.com, and we will send you a 2024 One Piece New York Comic Con lanyard. So check that out, and we will send that over to you. And thank you so much for being on the show. Don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe. And until next time, guys, Salam Nerds.